With the recent COVID-19 epidemic, greater emphasis has been placed on doing things that'll boost immune function, because your immune system is your main protector against invading organisms that include bacteria, viruses, yeast, and other pathological organisms. And of course, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes COVID-19, is definitely an invading organism. But there's been a lot of hype about nutrients that will help protect you against COVID-19. On the other hand, there's no question that having a stronger immune system is a great asset in preventing some of the more serious complications of COVID-19. As a matter of fact, several studies have shown that the people who die, who actually succumb to COVID-19 infections, or the ones that have the more serious complications, such as having to be hospitalized and suffering what they call acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is basically an attack of the COVID-19 virus on the lungs that affects breathing, where they have to be placed on a respirator in order to breathe. Those people, once you're on a respirator, they usually only have about a 10% chance of survival. Those people, almost in every case, show abnormalities in the immune system. And that's, so you want to do everything you can to boost natural immunity. Of course, there's a big controversy about COVID-19 vaccinations. There's a whole group of people and some kind of I don't know how to express this. These medical professionals that basically make videos and write that the COVID-19 vaccinations are actually more dangerous than the virus itself. They imply that if you get a COVID-19 vaccination, you're going to have everything from heart disease to sudden death to all this nonsense. But if you actually check the medical literature, that's just not true. They're making this crap out of the air. I'm not going to go into what the motivation is to spread these conspiracy theories, but the point is that in relation to your immune system, the COVID-19 vaccination actually works by boosting your immune system. What the COVID-19 vaccination does is it prepares your how do I put this? It increases the recognition of your immune system for the actual COVID-19 virus. In other words, the best way to put it, it's like a dress rehearsal. That's why when people get vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccination, they notice certain symptoms like headaches, fatigue, that these are very short-lived. Of course, there's always a lot of people get pain on the injection site, but these are all short-lived side effects. And what's happening there, that's actually a good sign, because what it shows you is that your body is reacting to the the vaccination, by basically, upregulating your immune response. It's going through kind of a dress rehearsal as if you were infected with the actual virus. So when if you are infected with the actual virus, your body is now prepared. Your immune system is prepared to deal with it. Now, one mistake often made about COVID-19 vaccinations is that they will protect you completely from being infected with COVID-19. That might have been true with the first strain of COVID, the original strain of virus that caused COVID-19. But as time went on, unfortunately, because only about half the people got, now it's about 3/4, but for a long time, less than 50% of people got vaccinated, because they listened to all this garbage about the vaccination being toxic. And because of that, the virus kind of circulated in the wild. And when viruses circulate all over the place among people, they tend to mutate. And with each mutation, there was less resistance to, there was more resistance to the preventative effects of the COVID-19 virus. So what you have today is the COVID-19 vaccination. What it basically does, it prevents you from having the more serious complications that I mentioned earlier, such as having to be hospitalized, and mainly, most importantly, it has a very, very high chance, about a 90% chance, of preventing you from dying from a COVID-19 infection, which to me makes it worthwhile. Speaking for myself, I've had 4 COVID vaccinations. I got the latest booster at the time of this video. It's been about 3-4 weeks. It takes about 2 weeks for the virus to actually kick in, where it kind of gets your immune system ready. Another important point is that the mRNA basis of the type of COVID vaccine I have, that's the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. Contrary to what the conspiracy theorists say, it does not stay in your body. I'll repeat, it does not stay in your body. It does not get into your cells. It does not alter DNA. It does not affect your heart. There's a couple of 0.01% of young men between the ages of 20 and 24 get a fleeting case sometimes. That's a tiny number. Think about that, 0.01%. Some of these younger men get a fleeting case of myocarditis, which is a minor inflammation of the heart. In the young men, it's easily treated, and it does not cause permanent damage. Don't believe the crap that everybody who takes the COVID vaccine gets myocarditis is garbage. But enough about the vaccine. I actually spoke too much about it. I apologize. But I know there's people that are going to be putting comments under this video about how I'm full of it, and the COVID. My uncle died 2 days after getting the COVID-19, and my grandfather took the COVID-19 virus and got a heart attack. It's all garbage. I'm not saying these things didn't happen, but to say that the COVID-19 caused a heart attack, I'm saying it's bogus. Whatever caused a heart attack in people, let's say within a week of getting a COVID-19 vaccine or a day or so, it was not the COVID-19. It was something already ready to happen, and it was coincidental. Yes, I'm saying it's coincidental. The vaccine will not directly cause a heart attack, but that's it all I'm going to say. What I want to talk about today is a couple of nutrients that really do boost your immune system. I want to emphasize here right from the start, none of these nutrients, and I'm saying this slowly, none of these nutrients will prevent you from getting a COVID-19 infection. What they will do is maximize your natural immune response so that if you are infected, hopefully having a stronger immune system will prevent you from progressing to the more serious complications of COVID-19, including death, or having a strong immune system will protect you against various other infections and pathogenic organisms, including influenza, common cold, all these things. Having a stronger immune system protects you. And by the way, I should also mention offhand, just before I forget, one reason why having a lot of body fat or obesity increases the risk of more serious cases of COVID-19 is because when you have a lot of body fat, the body fat secretes certain chemicals called adipokines. These are proteins that are highly inflammatory, and they also stress the immune system, and they tend to dampen immune response. This is why people that have more body fat are in greater danger if they get infected with COVID-19 virus. So let's talk about some of the nutrients. First and foremost is vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of the best nutrients to boost your immune response. Vitamin D originally was thought only to help your body absorb calcium, but subsequent studies over the years showed that all over your body you have vitamin D receptors everywhere. They're in the muscles, they're in the testes, they're in the brain, you name it. And they know that these vitamin D receptors interact with the what they call the active form of vitamin D, which is cholecalciferol, 25-hydroxycholecalciferol. It's basically a steroid hormone. Vitamin D is actually a pro-hormone that's converted in the liver and kidneys into the active form, which is the 25-hydroxy vitamin D form, which is a steroid hormone. It's the steroid hormone that interacts with vitamin D receptors throughout the body. What vitamin D does for the immune system is it enhances the pathogen fighting effects of certain immune cells called monocytes and macrophages. These are white blood cells that are, again, part of the immune system. And it also, vitamin D helps to decrease inflammation. And when you decrease inflammation, you increase immune response. The problem with vitamin D is many people are deficient in vitamin D. The big controversy is just how many. I've seen reports which say 40% of people lack enough vitamin D, all the way up to 85% of people lack sufficient vitamin D, which is easy to understand when you realize that vitamin D is very hard to get from food. The minimal blood level of activated vitamin D for health is 30 nanograms per deciliter. It's very difficult to even get that level from food alone. You can get vitamin D from the sun. If you go in the sun has to be in the right place in the sky to emit a certain wavelength of ultraviolet rays, which will kind of convert the cholesterol in your skin into vitamin D. But again, the sun has to be in the right place of the sky. You can't be wearing any sunblock. Darker skin, it's hard to get enough ultraviolet rays through the skin. When you're older, getting vitamin D from the sun is also inefficient. And if you have a lot of body fat, the vitamin D that you get from the sun in your skin, or the stimulation of vitamin D, the vitamin D gets sequestered in body fat. So obese people do not get as much benefit, which leaves supplements as the most reliable source of vitamin D, contrary to these idiotic science blogs who are telling you if you can get plenty of vitamin D from eating fish and egg yolks. Yes, these foods do contain vitamin D, but to get to even the minimal 30 nanogram level that's needed for health, and that's not optimal. The optimal would be anywhere over 50 to 70 nanograms per deciliter, but 30 is minimum. Very difficult to get that. You'd have to eat something like 3 dozen eggs a day and, pounds of fish. Nobody's going to do that. So supplements are the most easy way to get sufficient vitamin D. I take a vitamin D. It's a capsule. It's a very tiny capsule. Each capsule contains 2,400 units of D. The daily requirement, if I remember correctly, is only something like 400 units. But I want to keep my levels into the, last time I had a 25-hydroxy vitamin D lab test, my vitamin D level was 59, which is good. I don't want 30, I want 59, because you get the real protective benefits when you get, again, over 50 nanograms per deciliter. A 2019 review of randomized controlled studies that looked at 11,321 people showed that supplementing with vitamin D significantly decreased the risk of respiratory infections in people deficient in the vitamin, lowered infection risk, and even in those with adequate vitamin D levels. Other studies note that vitamin D may improve response to antiviral treatments in people with certain conditions, such as hepatitis C, which is caused by a virus, and human immunodeficiency virus, which causes the disease AIDS. Anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000 units of supplemental D per day is enough for most people, unless you start out with a deficiency, in which case you might temporarily have to take higher doses, as much as 10,000 units a day. Vitamin D orally is safe in amounts up to 10,000 units a day. If you're going to take vitamin D supplements, make sure you take it with a form of fat, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. You don't need a lot of fat. A tablespoon of fish oil or some extra virgin olive oil, eating some eggs with it, any form of fat will increase the vitamin D absorption. If you take it with the fat in the meal, it goes up 67%. So vitamin D, some initial studies show that vitamin D has strong preventive effects against the COVID-19 infection. The most recent studies show that vitamin D will not prevent being infected with COVID-19, but similarly to the vaccinations themselves, having sufficient vitamin D will definitely, what the studies show, will definitely prevent you from progressing to the more serious complications of COVID-19, such as having to be placed on a respirator or dying, which is probably, I would suggest, is the most serious complication of COVID-19. So the next nutrient that is really good for your immune system, and a lot of you probably already know this, is zinc. Most people who've been around for a while might remember there was a fad about 20 years ago. They came out with a study showing that if you take zinc lozenges, these were flavored lozenges that had zinc, and you kind of let them gradually melt in your mouth, the zinc would coat the upper lining of the respiratory area, and it would might help prevent colds, because zinc is a very potent immune stimulator. Whether taking supplemental zinc in a lozenge and kind of letting it, dissolve and coat your throat, it might still have some beneficial effects at preventing colds, but it doesn't work quite as well as they originally thought. The deficiency in zinc really depresses immune function and increases the risk of infection, including pneumonia. A lot of older people get pneumonia because of a dampened immune response, and a lot of it has to do with they could be deficient in zinc. If you're eating a lot of animal protein foods, it's unlikely to be deficient in zinc. If you're a vegan, it's more likely, because vegan foods contain elements called anti-nutrients such as phytic acid and oxalate, which can bind to the zinc naturally found in vegetables, causes it to pass right through your body. So it might be a good idea, if you're a vegan, if you're only eating fruits and vegetables, taking a zinc supplement would be probably a good idea if you want maximum immune response. Some research shows that 16% of all deep respiratory infections around the world have been shown to be directly related to a zinc deficiency. Zinc deficiency affects 2 billion people worldwide, and again, very common in older adults. 30% of older adults are considered deficient in this nutrient. Now you can see the connection between pneumonia, which affects older people much worse than younger people. A lot of older people die of pneumonia. You might have heard the expression, he or she died of old age. If you check, in about at least 70% of the cases, nobody dies of old age. You'd have to die of something. And when they say he or she died of old age, very often the true cause is pneumonia. They get a pneumonia that they could have fought off when they were younger, but because of their depressed immune system, it overwhelmed them and killed them. And that a lot of that is related to a long-term deficiency of zinc in older people. However, again, because people eat animal foods here in the in the United States and in most developed countries, zinc deficiency is rare. So in a 2019 study in 64 hospitalized children with acute lower respiratory tract infections, taking 30 milligrams of zinc per day decreased the total duration of infection and the duration of hospital stay by an average of 2 days compared to a placebo group. It also does reduce, even if it doesn't prevent the common cold, it does reduce the duration by, let's say, 2 or 3 days. If you take zinc, the cold will be, much less severe. It'll be gone much sooner. A thing to remember about zinc is excessive amounts of zinc interfere with the uptake of other minerals, particularly zinc. You always want to have like a 3-to-1 ratio. For example, if you take 30 milligrams of zinc, you want to ensure that you ingest 1 milligram of copper. Again, copper is in most protein foods. If you're taking abnormal amounts of zinc, I mean, when I say abnormal, I mean huge amounts, like 100 milligrams or something like that, you better be taking a copper supplement, at least 2-3 milligrams a day. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the daily requirement for zinc is only 11 milligrams, but you can take up to 20, even up to 50 milligrams daily, and it'll be safe, and it's safe. It won't hurt you. Probably the most familiar nutrient related to immune response is vitamin C. I mean, every time if you do a word association game, you say vitamin C, most people will say colds, because vitamin C has the reputation of preventing the common cold. A lot of that stems from a book written by an extremely distinguished scientist one of the only people to win the Nobel Prize twice, Dr. Linus Pauling. He's also called the father of organic chemistry. He was an absolute genius when it came to chemistry. He won a Nobel Prize. One of them, of course, was in chemistry, and the other one was a Peace Prize, believe it or not. But Dr. Pauling wrote a book, I believe it was around 1970, called Vitamin C and the Common Cold, in which he maintained that taking in larger amounts of vitamin C will prevent the common cold. He pointed out that most animals, other than humans, manufacture their own. They have enzymes in their body that can convert glucose into vitamin C. Unfortunately, humans lost that enzyme millennia ago. I think it's humans and certain fruit bats and guinea pigs, if I remember correctly, are the only animals that don't make their vitamin C in their own bodies. So we depend on vitamin C from the outside. The best sources of vitamin C, of course, are fruits and vegetables. Vitamin C definitely enhances an immune response. Vitamin C is also a very powerful antioxidant, which reduces oxidative stress. Oxidative stress can negatively affect immune function, and that's one of the reasons why vitamin C helps. A review of 29 studies in 11,306 people showed that regularly supplementing with vitamin C at an average dose of 1 to 2 grams per day reduced the duration of colds by 8% in adults and 14% in children. The same review also showed that taking about that same amount of vitamin C reduced common cold occurrence in individuals under high physical stress, including people intensely involved in intense exercise, endurance runners, soldiers, by up to 50%. A high-dose IV or intravenous vitamin C has been shown to significantly improve symptoms in people with severe infections, including sepsis, also known as blood poisoning, and acute respiratory distress syndrome. There's still some studies circulating which claim that giving large amounts of vitamin C intravenously, not orally, might help prevent acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is one of the real serious complications of COVID-19. In fact, when COVID-19 first emerged, a couple of people were trying to say that taking larger doses of vitamin C, such as 2,000 milligrams every hour, would knock out the virus before it could take hold, but that was later disproven. The upper limit of vitamin C, when they mean by upper limit, is the safe limit is 2,000 milligrams, but you could take a lot more than that. Dr. Pauling was still taking 10,000 milligrams a day well into his 80s. He lived till about 94, if I remember correctly. He claimed that vitamin C prevented him from succumbing earlier to prostate cancer. Dr. Pauling believed that vitamin C intravenous in large amounts, he got that with an idea from another doctor named Dr. Cameron. He believed that IV vitamin C can prevent cancer. That's still up in the air. Most mainstream cancer research institutions say it doesn't work, but they have an axe to grind. In other words, they're kind of pushing, traditional cancer therapies like radiation and chemotherapy. So they don't want a natural, treatment like vitamin C IV to emerge. But whether it actually works, again, is still up in the air. I talked about in a seminar about 20 years ago, I mentioned there was a big flu epidemic going around. And I mentioned to the people in the seminar that if they ingest a herb called black elderberry, it actually can short circuit. If you take it within 1 to 2 days of being infected with the influenza virus, it'll actually prevent the influenza virus from taking hold. Only works within the first 48 hours, though. If you take it after that, it's not going to do much. But in vitro or test tube studies or isolated cell studies show that elderberry does demonstrate potent antibacterial and antiviral potential against bacterial pathogens responsible for upper respiratory tract infections and strains of the influenza virus. It can also enhance the immune system response. A review of 4 randomized controlled studies of 180 people found that elderberry supplements significantly reduce upper respiratory symptoms caused by viral infections. A 5-day study from 2004 demonstrated that people with the flu who supplemented with 1 tablespoon of elderberry syrup 4 times a day experienced symptom relief 4 days earlier than those who didn't take the syrup and were less reliant on medication. Unfortunately, that study was sponsored by the company that made the elderberry syrup, so got to take that with a grain of salt. So, but a systemic review of elderberry did find that laboratory animal and human research showed that elderberry did have antiviral effects, inhibiting several strains of influenza A and B. If you raw elderberries need to be cooked, or you can get side effects like nausea, vomiting, or cyanide toxicity. Natural elderberries contain a little bit of cyanide, so you got to be careful of raw elderberry. Another good supplement for immune response are medicinal mushrooms. There's over 270 recognized species of medicinal mushrooms that are known to have immune enhancing. A lot of these have to do with elements in mushrooms called polysaccharides. A couple of good immune stimulating mushrooms include cordyceps, lion's mane, maitake, shiitake, reishi, and turkey tail. These are all been shown to improve immune response. A study of in mice who had tuberculosis showed that giving them cordyceps mushrooms significantly reduced bacterial load in the lungs, enhanced immune response, and reduced inflammation compared with the placebo group. And an 8-week study in 79 human adults supplementing with 1.7 grams of cordyceps led to a significant 38% increase in the activity of natural killer cells, which protects against bacterial and viral infection and cancer in the body. Turkey tails is a particularly effective mushroom for immune response. It enhances. It actually will enhance immune response and help protect certain types against certain types of cancer. A couple of other supplements that may have some pretty good immune response effects include astragalus. Astragalus is an herb commonly found in Chinese medicine. Some research shows it improves immune response. Selenium is a trace mineral that it seems to show enhanced antiviral defense against influenza strains. Garlic is a natural antiviral, antibacterial. One of the first, even before they had antibiotics, they were using garlic to treat bacterial-derived diseases. It stimulates protective white blood cells like natural killer cells and macrophages. It's another herb called andrographis. It found to have antiviral effects against respiratory disease-causing viruses, including influenza A. Licorice contains many substances, including glycerin, which may help protect viral infections. The glycerin in licorice has shown antiviral activity against the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes AIDS. But be careful about licorice in large amounts. It can cause excretion of potassium, which can cause problems with blood pressure, and it also can interfere with testosterone. B-complex vitamins, all of the B-complex vitamins are very important for immune response. Curcumin has very good anti-inflammatory, and as I said earlier, if you lower inflammation, you automatically increase immune response. Echinacea is another herb that's thought to help protect against colds and viral illnesses, including the respiratory syncytial virus, which recently was spreading around in epidemic proportions, especially among children. It also protects against rhinoviruses, which are the viruses that cause colds. So I think that about covers it. And of course, you also want to make sure that needless to say, you want to make sure you ingest enough protein, because the actual immune cells that comprise the immune system are proteins, and they depend on protein intake for maximum activity. So I don't think this is a problem with probably anybody listening to this video, because anybody involved in bodybuilding fitness is probably already consuming plenty of protein. So that's about it for the immune protecting nutrients. If you want more information on nutrition, exercise science, anti-aging research, supplement science, an upcoming article in my Applied Metabolics I'm going to cover in depth these supplements called nootropics, which are supposed to increase mental acuity, cognition, and memory and focus. I'm going to tell you whether they work or not, and which ones might actually have some potential to increase memory and focus, and the others that are bogus and a waste of money, which you won't get from the many videos that tout nootropics. I mean, they're all rah-rah videos making you believe if you take these nootropics, you can turn an idiot into a genius. Not quite. But anyway, I also cover, as I said, women's health and fitness, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, applied metabolics, www.appliedmetabolics.com. It's 30 to 50 pages every month. I cover more topics than any other digital publication. It comes out on the first of every month. No ads, just pure information. Includes my over 60 years of experience both in the gym and in studying, constantly studying research for over 6 decades. I don't think anyone can match that. When you subscribe, send me an email. I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where each day I post new information on nutrition, exercise science, and medicine that's very useful. It's like having a second subscription. That's only for current subscribers. I have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics webpage where current subscribers only can send me short questions about anything they might have read in Applied Metabolics or anything that comes to mind related to nutrition, exercise. And as a bonus for your subscription, I will personally answer your question. Again, that only applies to current subscribers. I do not answer unsolicited questions, whether it's comments under the video or comments sent to me the website, because I only have a limited amount of time, and I'm going to give that time to the people that support my work. I don't charge a lot for Applied Metabolics. It's probably one of the least expensive digital publications you could find. I've seen other digital publications that charge 3 to 10 times as much as I do, and yet have not even 10% of the information contained in Applied. It's probably one of the greatest bargains you'll ever find on the internet. So again, www.appliedmetabolics.com. If you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. They are the best, and they also are good for the immune system. Believe it or not, they've had studies showing that if you pet a dog, it increases your immune. I know it sounds crazy, but it actually increases your immune response, probably because it has kind of an anti-stress effect. Any type of stress dampens immune response. So anything that's going to decrease stress is going to increase your immune response. So adopt a dog and save your life. And you're saving the dog's life too. Thank you for listening.